Well, hello there folks, this is Liaj and welcome to a Monster Hunter Rise playstyle guide. In this series, we will be exploring unique and interesting ways to play each of the game's 14 different weapon types. In each video, I will be covering a specific build or playstyle for a given weapon that may just make it feel completely different. Whether you've played the weapon for 100 hours or are picking it up for the first time, you might just discover a cool new way to play. As a disclaimer, these videos will not be full weapon tutorials. I will be going over a few key techniques and combos relating to the particular playstyle, but to learn about everything a weapon has to offer, there are already some great tutorials out there. I am also not claiming that any of these playstyles will be the most efficient ways to play, but I have the hope that they will provide a fun change of pace for your hunts. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, today's playstyle guide is one that I have been trying to get put together for a few weeks now. Our weapon for this playstyle will be the bow, and first of all, this weapon is just really strong. Second of all, I am extremely bad with it. Only shortly after starting to make these videos, I had come up with a particular playstyle for the bow that I thought would be super fun to play. However, because I was not very good at playing the bow, I had been struggling to actually record a relatively clean demo hunt for a video. Despite this, when I would play the bow in regular hunts, I still found myself slaying monsters in on par if not better times when compared to other weapons. With the Monster Hunter Rise 2.0 update, I decided to use some of the new decorations to add a bit more punch to my build to hopefully help me get a clean hunt for a video, and that brings us to now. So the build for this playstyle revolves around the Nargacuga bow. This bow is just very good in general with both high raw damage and affinity. Now unfortunately this bow does not carry the important power coating, but it actually has the unique property of a boosted close range coating. This is actually interesting because the bow only fires pierce arrows, and normally pierce arrows require you to stay a far distance away from the monster to deal full damage. However, equipping the close range coating flips things around, causing the pierce arrows to deal more damage at close range and become weak when far away. Alright, so to play this bow you will want to stay right up next to the monster, which as a ranged user can be scary at times. Now it just so happens that one of the bow's switch skills actually incentivizes staying close to the monster, and this would be the dodge bolt skill. So let's jump into how this skill works. If you are familiar with the bow, then you will know that while aiming the bow you can press the B button and a direction to do a quick step in said direction. Now by default this quick step is the switch skill charging sidestep, and it is pretty sweet because it adds a charge level to your bow. This skill is great, and if you wanted to save yourself a whole lot of grief, you could run with it and have yourself a great time with the weapon. However, for the folks who want to look as stylish as possible at the expense of their potential sanity, we have the alternative version of this skill, the dodge bolt. This skill fundamentally works the same as the normal sidestep. You can press B while aiming to step in any direction. The main difference appears to be that during your step you will perform a quick swing of your arrow around you. As you might be able to guess, this arrow allows you to deal damage during your step, so that is kind of useful if you happen to be close to the monster. However, the downside of the skill is that it does not boost your charge levels, although it will preserve your current charge level. So sure, the melee attack is nice, but on the surface it doesn't seem like it is worth replacing the free charge for. There does happen to be one more important feature of this skill, however. If you read the skill description, it mentions that if you dodge an attack at the last second, you will gain a considerable charge boost. So how does that work? Well, as it turns out, this skill actually functions like a counter. Instead of using the skill to dodge away from attacks, you will want to use it to dodge into them. To activate this skill's behavior, you will want to have your dodge animation intercept an enemy attack. If you time it perfectly, and I mean perfectly, you will ignore the damage of the attack and your bow will be charged 2 levels. Now the bonus charge is nice, but the real value of the skill lies in being able to ignore any attack. As long as you time the dodge right, almost any attack can be ignored with no evade window skills necessary. For the close range playstyle of the Narga bow, this skill fits in perfectly, allowing you to hang out by the monster, dodge through their attacks with a swift slash, and keep up your assault while looking cool the whole time. And now for the not so fun part. This skill's timing is ridiculously tight. If you think that you would be invincible the whole time you are slashing with the arrow, then you would be dead wrong. To time this skill properly, you need to start your dodge almost the moment that an attack would connect with you. If you've played the longsword before, the best comparison for how to time the skill would be to liken it to the EI Spirit Slash. For those unfamiliar, what this means is that you want to wait until the absolute last second before an attack would hit you before attempting to dodge. After that advice, the rest I can really say is to get practicing, and good luck. You will really need to learn the behaviors of monsters to be able to consistently dodge each attack, and each failure can be potentially fatal when you are playing as a ranged weapon. That being said, this playstyle is really as dangerous as you make it. You don't necessarily have to dodge through every attack as long as you are fine looking only 90% as cool. The key to me being able to record a somewhat clean Rathian hunt was learning that I shouldn't be attempting to dodge through everything. Now if you are a better player than me, then this playstyle will really let you turn the style up to the max, as you can really just stay in a monster's face and stylishly dodge through everything it throws at you. Okay, now that we have covered our core move, let's go over a few extra techniques that I will be using. First, we have our main big damage combo that we should be using as often as possible when we aren't dodging through something. For starters, we want to max out our charge level because that is where all of our damage is. As I'm not a bow expert, I'm not sure what the best method for doing this is, but we do have plenty of options. First of all, we can hold ZR to charge up an arrow. We can also fire regular shots to build charge. We can even add in some power shots as well to do this. And finally, we have our dodge bolt, which gives us 2 charge levels if we do successfully trigger it. Now once we are at full charge, we can start to have some fun. After firing an arrow at full charge, we can follow it up with an A button power shot, then a second A button power volley. All of these shots will be at max level, and afterwards we can perform a dodge. This dodge will preserve our full charge, so immediately after we can press ZR again to fire another full charge shot and perform 2 more A button shots. As long as we have stamina, we can loop this as much as we want for some great damage. If we're feeling spicy, we can even throw in a Dragon Piercer with X and A for fun. Let's also cover our silk binds real quick because they are pretty fun. First, we have the one that can't be switched out, the Herculean Draw. This one is pretty straightforward. When you activate it with R+A, you will do a nice little dash and then give yourself a buff. You can use this dash as a nice method to get out of the way after you've exhausted your stamina. Other than that, you can also just activate this move whenever it's available as a nice way to give yourself some extra damage. The next silk bind I would like to cover is the Aerial Aim. This is the switch version of the R+X silk bind, and it is a move that I find a lot more fun than the alternative. To be honest, this is a move that I mostly run due to how stylish it is. When you activate the silk bind, you will launch yourself into the air. This can actually be handy defensively to let you jump over a monster's melee attack. Of course, you can also get hit out of the air if you aren't careful. After your jump, you will fire 1 arrow on your own. With presses of ZR, you can fire up to 2 extra arrows. Depending on how you time these arrows, you can actually keep yourself aloft a little bit longer, as each one will kind of boost you up as you fire it. This can be important to time your landing so you don't land directly on a monster's attack. When it is time to land, you can finally press X to stab your arrow downwards. This is a pretty strong melee attack for a ranged weapon and does some considerable wyvern ride damage. Now it is important to note with our close range coatings, if we are too far away, this move will do pretty bad damage, so we really need to be right up next to the monster to do decent damage. Now when we are close, we will also need to correct our aim heavily downwards to land the arrows. On the plus side, however, being close does make it easier to hit with the arrow stab, but once again you really need to be careful timing when to use this move so you don't get smacked around. Okay, that's basically it for the techniques I wanted to cover. For switch skills, I've basically already covered 2 out of the 3 ones we will be using. To quickly take a look at the other Silkbind switch skill, I'm sure this one gets a lot of disrespect for not being nearly as cool as the Aerial Aim, but I do think it does still have value for recovering your stamina. That being said, there are other ways to deal with your stamina, so I think most people will prefer the Aerial Aim anyways. The one switch skill we haven't covered is our Power Shot. We can swap this one for Absolute Power Shot, which causes your power shots to deal KO damage. However, this causes them to consume more stamina. Now while using the absolute power shot, I don't think I have ever gotten a KO once. Possibly this could be an effect of using the pierce bow, since not all of your hits will be to the head. But since this doesn't seem to make a difference for this playstyle, I will be running with the regular power shot for the lower stamina cost. Now here's the build I have been running with. I was unsure whether attack boost or things like weakness exploit would be more optimal, but because this bow already has high affinity and can fire affinity boosting arc shots, I decided to skip the weakness exploit and max out my attack boost. Ideally I'd like to max out my affinity and my attack, but I haven't had all that much luck with the talismans lately. Another skill I definitely wanted on this build is Pierce Up. This is a damage boost to our pierce shots. With the 2.0 update you can now make a decoration for it, but it does require a level 3 slot, so I haven't been able to max that skill out either. There is also the Bow Charge Plus skill, which unlocks the final level of charge for your bow. This is quite important to allow you to access your most damaging shots. Right now I have this skill equipped through the Mighty Bow Feather, which you need to clear some arena quests to unlock. I don't believe there is a decoration for this skill as of the current update, and I don't know if the skill can appear on a talisman, so the feather is the only way I currently have to access this skill. Now skills like Constitution, Marathon Runner, and Stamina Surge are very good for the bow, as this weapon will eat your stamina for breakfast. However, I was unable to fit any into my build with all this damage stuff. To get around the stamina usage, we can make use of the Dash Juice item. They might be kind of annoying to get a lot of, but if you bring a few into a hunt, you likely won't have any stamina problems. And now it is time for our demo hunt that I worked very hard to record. As seems to be tradition now, as we are getting started here, I will recommend a few food skills for our playstyle. The Dongo Marksman skill will boost the damage of arrows, which I guess means more damage for us. The Dongo Fighter skill reduces fixed stamina depletion, which includes the stamina consumed from dodging and firing power shots with the bow. That should also help us a bit with our stamina management. Alright, let's prepare for Rathian's Roar here. And there we go. That's a perfectly timed dodge bolt, which lets us jump right into our big damage. I wanted to make a good first impression with this demo hunt, so if I failed to dodge the first roar, I would immediately scrap the recording. Whew. All this being cool has tired me out already, so let's chug ourselves some dash juice to get some more energy. Now, one thing I learned after many failed recordings is that Rathian's Charge is a move that I should not bother using Dodge Bolt on. It is perfectly possible to counter this move, but I just can't seem to consistently grasp the timing on it. These fireballs, on the other hand, are super fun to dodge through and make me look extra cool when I do it. And randomly here, Rathian decided to start wailing on my buddies. When I do a recording, I will tell them to wait so they don't interfere. Usually this stops the monster from aggroing on them, but I guess Rathian didn't like the way they were looking at her. And here we have one of the many times where I get smacked during my aerial aim. At least this time it was just by Rathian taking off, which didn't actually hurt me. Usually I forget about my other coatings, but for the sake of this video I decided to throw on some paralysis to show that this bow in fact can use them. Partway through using these coatings I remembered that since they are not close range coatings we should be standing further back to use them effectively. And of course Rathian decided to run before I could get the paralysis off. Ah, there's our para, back to close range mode. One important thing to master when using ranged weapons in general is aiming for weak spots. When you are a blade master, you generally can just hit the head or other weak spots without thinking, but with a ranged weapon you need to make a conscious effort to aim your shots where they will do the most damage. You can see the difference between the yellow damage numbers which are on a weak spot when compared to the white damage numbers that are not hitting one. Look, I was even brave enough to dodge through a backflip. This is a move that I was avoiding dodging through because I considered getting hit by the backflip to be a big enough blunder to scrap the recording. Well, speaking of blunders, I decided to let this one slide because this is just what happens when you use aerial aim. Now that dodge I could swear was properly timed. At this point I decided I was proud enough of my early performance that I could let that one more mistake into my recording. Okay, make that 2 more mistakes. And there's a kill with the dodge bolt. So even when I play this build badly and get smacked around a lot, I do still find it performing very nicely against many different monsters. I think that this playstyle can be what you make of it. If you dodge bolt through every attack, you can find yourself with some of the coolest looking hunts in the game. Alternatively, you can always play it safe and still end up having a great time. So this is the end of the video. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you are enjoying my content, I would always appreciate a like and subscribe, but I would also like to take the time to recommend my last recently released video where I did a tour of the Sandy Plains map in Rise with a direct comparison to the map in Monster Hunter 3U. This video is somewhat of a neat little history lesson where we will examine the differences between the Rise map and the original. So far this is probably the video I have put the most work into, so I would highly recommend checking it out. Anyways, for now that's it, so thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you again soon.